Hey everyone, Bay Area Mindfulness here. My name is Florence, and in today's video, I'd like to talk about something a little bit more serious, specifically a mindful approach to dealing with microaggressions and subtle racism at work. So what I'm gonna do is describe 5 different situations that I've experienced in corporate where I feel that I was subject to subtle racism, some not so subtle racism, so sort of a combination. I'll let you know generally what happened and what my non-mindful approach to it was, or response was. Once I've described all the situations, I'll try to do like a summary of I guess what I've learned and how I would approach those situations differently. I don't have all the answers. I just have a retrospective view on what happened and kind of an opinion of what I think might have worked better. But this can be a discussion if you kind of identify or relate to any of these situations and you have a way of responding to it in a way that helped you through it, then let us know in the comments, because yeah, we're all in this together. If we can just share as much as possible and help ourselves get through these situations, the better. I'll start off with where I work, the industry, and generally what I do. So I've mentioned a couple times that I live in downtown San Francisco. I have worked in the tech industry since I graduated from Stanford. That's why I came up to the Bay Area, and I kind of just never left. I fell into recruiting, specifically university recruiting. So I've always worked on like intern programs and recruiting early talent, university relations, so going to campuses and trying to convince the students that working at whatever company I was at was the best opportunity for them upon graduation. So I absolutely love it. That's why I've been in it for so long. I was recently laid off, supposedly due to COVID-19, but we'll get into that. So I am not working right now. This is the first time since I graduated that I have had an extended period off. So this is an interesting time for me. I'm doing okay though. That's who I am, and generally the type of situation that I'm in at work. Let's get into the 5 different situations. So the first situation that I have often encountered at different workplaces is general stereotyping. So obviously I am a young Black woman, and there are some stereotypes, old stereotypes that have been around for a while about Black women, namely that we are angry. So the angry Black woman trope, right? I hate that. So the way that it affected me was whenever I tried to speak up or let my opinion be known, it often came across as aggressive, or like I was mad, which was not the case. It was really disappointing. I think women in general experience this at work. If we voice our opinions or speak up or speak with our chest and we're confident, we are seen as, you know, the B word. Whereas men often are lauded for that type of behavior. They are seen as being leaders. They're seen as taking charge, as being the boss. But we're not seen as being the boss. We're seen as being just really aggressive women. And then you put the added layer on that you're a woman of color. Now you're just like this angry person, you know, running through the office, just beating their chest and not letting anybody else speak and just wanting their opinion to be heard, without considering anyone else's opinion. That's definitely not the case. If you've seen my videos, I am so far from being angry. I meditate every single day. I'm all about self-reflection and inner peace and growth. That is not who I am, but that's what a stereotype is, right? It's a perceived idea of who you are, totally based off of really shallow things such as how you look. And so in my case, it was my skin color, my heritage, my race. So I really, really hated that, because when you are in the workplace, you're trying to climb the ladder, right? You're trying to show that you have good ideas. You're trying to show that you have leadership skills. And a lot of that is sharing your opinion and letting it be heard and being confident in your opinion. But having that being misconstrued so many times into you're aggressive. You know, I've even had a leader tell me that she perceived me as being angry with the world. That hurt. That cut really, really deep. I couldn't believe it because that is just so far from who I really am and how I want to be perceived. So yeah, obviously didn't respond well to those things. I think I just grew more bitter over time because every time I spoke, it was just taken the wrong way. I remember I shared an opinion about wanting to just have a discussion about diversity at a company that I worked at that was rather small and didn't have any diversity and inclusion programs yet. And I wanted the HR and recruiting teams to actually just sit down together and talk about it and have a discussion. And I guess the way that my writing came across, I was told by a person not of color that it came across having an activist tone, and that also hurt because I'm not trying to be an activist at work. So again, it's just complete frustration at, just feeling like there's no way I can say anything. So I might as well just be quiet because it's gonna be taken wrong. So that in effect is just silencing someone, which is really, really awful. So that's the first situation that I've encountered in many different companies. The second subtle form of racism, this one might actually be a little more overt, but I've experienced at a certain company that I won't mention different consequences for different people. So basically, say there are two professionals at this company, and for this example, I'll just say they're both women. So one's a woman of color and one is a Caucasian woman. And they both have complaints brought to HR about them. The woman of color has one complaint from a pretty significant person at the company. And then the other one has a million complaints, constant complaints from every level at the company, from the most senior people to the most peon of workers at the company. The woman of color gets one complaint and she is let go pretty immediately. The woman not of color stays at the company for way longer than she deserved. So I don't have all the details, so I can't say definitively that this was definitely, that I know what was exactly going on. But from the outside, it looked just like how I'm describing it to you right now. Absolutely crazy. We were blindsided by that woman getting let go. That woman in particular, I did not speak to her directly, but I heard that she was never given a warning. Whereas I know for a fact that the other woman always knew that she got these complaints, and she was given chances to kind of overcome those situations, and she obviously didn't because she kept getting the complaints. So different consequences for different folks for the same offense. Awful. The third situation that I've often experienced is being patronized for the different programs that I wanted to bring to the company. Just being patronized generally, like, oh, like you're cute. Like, every time I would try something, it's like I wasn't really taken seriously. And maybe that was a function of age and experience, but then I did feel that there was a tinge of it having to do with my appearance, my outward appearance, right? So at one of the companies, I started an ERG, an employee resource group. So that is like I'll give a few examples. Like at Twitter, they have Blackbirds. So it's a group of Black professionals that come together to support each other, and they help bring resources to Black people at Twitter, and also just recognition and visibility to those people at the company to help advance them in their careers at Twitter. So I brought that to a company that I was working at, and I recall that a woman, a Caucasian woman, she saw one of the posters that we had posted about, I think it was Black History Month or something that was coming up, and she looked at the poster, and I was in the break room with her, and she looks over at me and she goes, "Florence, isn't this your little group that you started?" Like little group? Like, I don't know. That to me is a microaggression. It's kind of like, oh, you're so cute. Like putting down this significant project to me that I was bringing to the company that does add a lot of value to the culture of the company, especially when you're not getting paid for it. It's like a side passion project, so you have to really be into it to do that as a side job on top of your regular job. And my regular job was pretty demanding, in my opinion. So for her to say it was a little group, I would never say that to her about her work, you know? So why is it okay to say that about my work? And I really don't think that she knew that she said that to me, or that it was like a conscious thing. So this is an example of a subtle type of microaggression that is not purposeful, but it's still hurtful. So imagine being patronized for everything that you're bringing to the company. Your confidence as an employee, as a contributor, is obviously gonna go down over time. I had another leader at a different company that I was trying to bring diversity to, and we were in a conference room, I don't even remember exactly what we were talking about, but the topic of diversity and inclusion came up. I was really trying to bring D&I to this company, or to at least start it. And she had made a comment to me about my efforts, and she basically said, "Oh yeah, I see that you're really into diversity right now." Right now? I'm not into diversity right now. I am Black every day. I'm always into diversity. It's my life. I walk through life as a Black woman. This is my experience. This is my father's experience and his father's experience and mother's experience. Like it's generational. Yeah, that hurt me too. But again, I don't know that she was trying to say that to hurt me. But that hurt my pride. It obviously made me feel some type of way. And it affected, you know, my productivity as it related to the initiatives I was trying to bring. I just felt like I wasn't being taken seriously. I didn't feel supported. If everybody around me, all of my leaders, think that what I'm doing is of such little consequence, how can I feel proud about what I'm doing? Over time, you start so juiced, but over time you're kind of just beaten down. That's another situation. Really sad as I talk through these. Yeah, it's hard out there. The fourth situation that I've gone through that I think most people of color can relate to is just being the only one. And this has happened throughout my life, in elementary school, in middle school, in high school, in college, and then into the workplace. Being the only person of color, or Black person specifically, in the room is difficult. You don't necessarily, you feel very othered, you feel very different. There's a fear almost and it's a little subconscious for me, at least. I don't want to speak for everyone, but fear to bring up my opinion, because if everybody's so different from me, then I don't know that my opinion is going to be welcomed or taken seriously, which in the other situations, obviously I already felt like everything I did was kind of patronized. So being the only one like you in the room, having to represent a whole race is very, very difficult. And I don't think that my coworkers, my leaders, my management really appreciated that, even though I tried to explain it to them. But again, came off angry to them, even though I don't think I was trying to be angry. I was probably just like very stern and serious about it, like what the experience is. They didn't take it seriously. And then lastly, I was laid off due to COVID, or so they say. But all of this, you know, being perceived as aggressive, being perceived as intimidating, being perceived as an agitator and an activist, and all of these things that have negative connotations in the workplace, I absolutely believe contributed to me being let go, because I had been at the company for a really long time, and compared to everyone else on the team, I was a high contributor, high performer. There is no reason to. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. Like, everything was fine, better than fine. So for that to happen was really devastating. I did not allow myself to wallow in being upset. My response was to start a YouTube channel and to meditate. So as you can see, them saying that I was really angry is just not what it is. Because you can see this is a actual, you know, I'm dealing with an adversity not having a job during a global health pandemic, that's when your true colors come out, okay? And I resorted to meditating. I'm not an angry person. I don't like to be angry. I don't like to fight. So that tells you a lot about me and these situations. So these are the things that I've experienced in different workplaces. None of these are, I'm not trying not to refer to one workplace in particular, so this is very generalized. And these are experiences that I know a lot of other people of color go through in the workplace. And I just want to make this video to let you know, those of you that are people of color in corporate, that you're not alone. Don't be gaslighted. Your experience is validated. It is happening and it's hard. I don't have the answer. In terms of having a mindful approach to the things that were happening to me, I would definitely try not to be so reactive. And I would just really concern myself with the things that I had control over. So a lot of the stuff that I was getting upset about, I had no control over, and that was the problem. That's what was making me really upset every single day. I just felt like my hands were tied. But you know, in every situation, there are some things that you can control. You have yourself, you can control you, and you can control the things that you focus on and the things that you work on. And I did a little bit of that in my last role, just like trying to focus on what I could, but it was kind of a little too late. I feel like, because I had spent so much time being angry, and being angry is not productive. Anger does not lead to productivity, okay? Some people get kind of like a fire lit under them, and you will have, in my opinion, short-term productivity, but I think in the long run, being angry just exhausts you. So that's what I would have done. I would have focused on my circle of influence. So in the book that the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I have another video about it. One of the habits, the first one, is to be proactive, but don't take that literally. It means to focus on what you have control over. So he has a nice diagram in the book. There's a circle of influence, that's what you can control, and then there's a circle of concern. There's things that you are concerned about. So in these situations, I was concerned about bringing D&I to this company in particular. That was my circle of concern, but I didn't really have the last say over that. I didn't have control over it. So I shouldn't have, I was putting my focus way too much in this outer circle, and I was getting so freaking frustrated. What I should have done is focus on my circle of influence. So the things that I could control, I did have a space. I was a manager at this role, and there were ways that I could work on D&I without having to, you know, worry about D&I for the whole company. And I should have worked in this space and let that build up until, you know, I could get to a point where I could influence bigger things. I didn't do it that way. I think for a long time I got caught up in the fact that there are these huge roadblocks, and I just got super frustrated. So that's what I would have done differently. I hope that me sharing my experiences has helped you to feel validated. If you're a person of color experiencing any of these things at work, you're not alone, you're not crazy. Do not let anyone gaslight you. Racism is a very real thing, as we all can see, given everything that's going on in the world right now with the protests against police brutality and the riots. Racism is real. It has many different faces. It can be overt, it can be subtle, it's institutionalized, and it's systemic. So don't sleep on that. If you're not a person of color, I think one of the best things that you can do for us to be supportive, to show your support, is to not deny our experience, to not deny our reality, and to not be silent. Speak out against racism when you see it. Show that you are against this and that it is not right. All right, that was heavy. Okay, well, again, hope you enjoyed. If you have any comments, if you've experienced these things, feel free to say something in the comments. If you have a better approach to how to deal with these issues at work, or if this actually happened to you and you've dealt with it in a way that was positive, let us know, help us all out. And yeah, thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope to see you in the next one. If you like this video, like it, comment, and subscribe. Okay, sorry this is all over the place. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.